99 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 99 episodes of Daily Solutions. You turn one on, play it along. 98 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 98 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 98 episodes of Daily Solutions. You turn one on, play it along. 97 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 97 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 97 episodes of Daily Solutions. You turn one on, play it along. 96 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 96 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 96 episodes of Daily Solutions. You turn one on, play it along. 95 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 95 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone. 95 episodes of Daily Solutions. You turn one on, play it along. 95 episodes. Oh.
Whoops. Well, do it from the top.
99 episodes of Daily Solutions on your phone.
99 episodes.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Thanks for
Welcome.
listening through that with
You
us.
made it.
Hopefully
Yeah.
we're singing along by the end there. I'm Graham.
I'm Ashkahn.
And today's question is, actually questions
Oh.
are hard or soft water, city or well water, for one tank only, please. Well, fortunately, those aren't really going to change for multiple tanks.
Yeah,
so that's
it should be the same.
That's the good news, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a difference between them.
Between hard and soft water?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Should we explain what that is?
Yeah, I think we totally should.
All right, so hard and soft water is usually referring to the amount of like mineral content of your water. So hard water has a lot more kind of minerals and metals and stuff like that in it, and soft water doesn't. And typically, I think there are some issues that come with having hard water. So people usually want to have kind of softer water. Like if you're in a city with very hard water, you usually have like a water softener. If you're in a city with very soft water, you don't have like a water hardener or something connected to your building or anything like that.
Yep, and then there are some things that can come along with overly soft water as well. But the interesting thing is this doesn't really affect the float tanks themselves too much.
Yeah,
it's a lot of your other building appliances and things like that, especially if you're filtering the water going into your float tanks, which we fully recommend. You know, if you don't have a full point of entry building water filtration system, then at least filtering any drop of water that's being added to your float tank when you're topping it off or doing a full refill will often get rid of a lot of the kind of minerals and different things you're worried about building up and being deposited.
So water hardness can affect pools and hot tubs and stuff like that, and they're often controlling their water hardness and measuring it every day. Because it can lead to scaling. That's that kind of term for people who are probably a little bit more used to seeing this like in their showers in cities where they live with places with hard water. Those kind of buildups of calcium and lime and stuff like that form that weird kind of almost like scummy looking surface thing that usually builds up on tiles or something. So pools and stuff they can deal with that and it doesn't look good aesthetically, but also that scale can build up inside of pipes and that can constrict pipes and hurt your flow rates. And it can also build up on the outside of things like your UV light. The kind of sleeve glass tubes that the light bulbs are in can have scale building up on them. And then that means the UV light won't be able to penetrate through that and it'll kind of hurt your UV ability. Or scale can build up on like the heating elements of a heater and eventually damage those or make them less efficient.
Yeah, really common on hot water heaters. Like a lot of the time, the first times you'll see an impact of having really hard water going through anything in your system will be around the hot water heater and gathering on those elements or down on the little unions. Like the heat definitely, because it can evaporate out water, gets the minerals, I think, just that much closer to coming out of the water and bonding to something else.
But for some reason, we don't see this happening in float tanks. I mean, obviously some reason to do with the Epsom salt, but I don't exactly know why. We tried looking into it, and it gets to be some like complicated chemistry out there.
We're not scientists. We're simple people.
There seems to be some information about magnesium kind of prohibiting calcium from really being able to form calcium deposits very easily.
Yeah, like its crystalline structure gets disrupted by magnesium.
But
maybe if we're reading these articles correctly.
Yeah.
So
here's what I do know. I've never seen it happen in our float tanks. I haven't seen it happen in anybody's float tanks.
Or in our pipes or anywhere. Like it really does not seem like the hardness of the water even if you're not filtering the water going into your float tanks, has a big impact on the actual float system.
So that part is pretty cool. Like doesn't seem like we have to worry about it that much, at least from what I know now and what's been going on. So much more likely you're dealing with hard or soft water, probably just for like normal things in your shop. Probably your showers are like the biggest concern, and your hot water heater that's like giving hot water to the showers, and your sinks and all just like the normal
bidets.
non-float tank kind of plumbing things that you'd have in your building are probably actually why you'd be trying to make sure you have a water softener if you have really hard water and kind of dealing with that. So yeah, not a very float tank issue, but still something you probably would have to deal with just because of the amount of other water fixtures you have in your building.
And for city versus well water, the advice just ends up being the same for both, which is, regardless, make sure you're filtering it going into your float tank. Well water can end up with interesting minerals. City water is often has trace elements of like the chloramines for disinfection or bromides that they're putting in there. So, you want to filter that stuff out. But again, you want to filter in either case. So there's nothing different that needs to happen as a result of having a different water source at all.
Yeah, probably not going to, as long as your well water is decent. And, there's a lot of like cities that can like inspect wells and make sure everything looks good and how the well is set up. So unless if you're using like a horrible well, it's all weird and stuff, you might have problems. But assuming that's not the case, then you should really be fine both ways.
Yep. And watch out for, if you are on a well, that might mean you're also on a septic system. And that's something to check in, depending on the size of the system, especially the salt water, you can risk killing off the different bacteria that are making that system function. So I'd say that's almost more of a concern than the water going into the tanks is what you're doing with the water coming out on more of like a land use kind of level.
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the couple of questions.
Yep. And if you have more questions, you can go to floatanksolutions.com/podcast.
Or just keep them to yourself, whatever, either way.
I'm not here to listen to you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.